War. War never changes.
It feels just like being.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to War Never Changes, your weekly video game podcast. I love asking Phil questions during the intro, and as he responds, I hit record. It's so fun. It really is so fun. Phil, the man, the myth, the legend, how are you doing today, sir? Are you doing all right?
Doing great, buddy. How are
Dude,
you?
I'm doing okay. You know, this has been a pretty rough work week. It is finally winding down. I am very, very, very happy it's winding down. And we actually have some gaming news to talk about this week, which, had we recorded during our normal time slot last night, we wouldn't have had as much fun stuff to talk about. But because we're procrastinators, we have additional news that came out today. I'm very excited, so we're going to jump into that. But before we do, two quick things. Number one, if you're watching, consider subscribing to the channel. Phil and I greatly appreciate your support. And number two, I have continued to put timestamps in the description box below. So if you want to fast forward to anything we talked about, just click on the minutes and it'll launch you like a rocket into that part of the conversation. So with that out of the way, I have to start off with Phil's latest obsession, Call of Duty Outbreak mode.
Oh, I'm done with that shit. Well, I
See,
got my stickers and my and my weapon charms. I'm
I
all
got
done
my
with my
stuff.
Warzone.
So you're done. You're just back to Warzone now. You don't like Outbreak anymore?
Oh, dude, I would play the shit out of that all night if you wanted to.
I gotta say, you know, we talked a little bit about this with some of our other friends who've been playing. It's kind of sucks that they're like taking it away.
It does. It really does because it's
Like,
such a fun mode.
I need it in my life, and it's a great thing to do. I've been playing a lot by myself, and it's fun because you can keep pausing it and take your time, and kind of you don't feel rushed with playing with other people. But when we get all the guys together and we have a four-man group, it is a lot of fun to all focus fire down enemies, and I think that's cool. I like it. I We do better at that. We do way better at that than Warzone. Yeah, so it's wrapping up next week, which sucks, and then we'll go back to regular Zambies, which may or may not be as good. I really don't know what to expect with Zambies, if it's going to be as fun. Because you and I played it, I think, what, one time maybe,
Like maybe once or twice.
and it just didn't really seem to resonate. You really have to know what you're doing. If you spend any time at all, like walking around or doing anything that isn't directly to the mission, the zombie count gets too high and you get overwhelmed. And you're fighting like level 9 zombies with like rocks.
That's true.
So it's kind of frustrating. I'm glad with this new mode that they had in Phil's shrinking room, that with this new mode that they have, at least you can take your time, and you know it doesn't really roll over until you get to the final boss. So you can spend as long as you want doing all the ancillary quests, doing all the, you know, just taking your time and exploring. And I like that. I think that's missing from a lot of games where people just want to get in there and like, what's the next thing? Like this is more of a chill experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I've really been enjoying playing it. It's helpful and people may not know about this, but it's much easier to kill things that don't shoot back at you and can't think for themselves.
Yes, especially things you can kite by
So,
jumping in and out of windows repeatedly.
yes, I don't do that trick. That's a gym
It
trick.
is.
I always forget to do it. So I just get overwhelmed and get downed. But yeah, no, it's been a ton of fun, and it's been such a fun game to play as a group too, because Willie and Jem can hop on with us and they can do what they need to do, and Will can come and go as he needs. Fucking Will ended up with like $50,000
Yeah,
last night. He was the last man standing.
our one friend who had to go to work, who works a night shift, we just left him AFK, and he was somehow the like. Well, he ended up costing us the match because the zombies were spawning near him and we couldn't exfil in time. But yeah, it's a cool mode. It's so cool, in fact, that Phil went out and bought a second copy of Call of Duty just to play zombies, not just play zombies.
No,
Which leads me to, I want a Phil's PC update. That's the next topic I want to hear about what's going on with this PC. Where are we at? What do you got going on there? I see a bunch of stuff behind you. You've been telling me about it. Like, the fans demand to know what is going on with this thing.
What's that? Oh, can't look at it yet.
The TV?
That was so stupid. No, that was the new monitor.
Oh, that's your monitor behind you in the corner? I thought that was your TV.
No, I have an L-shaped desk. The TV's over there.
Gotcha. Oh, I see now. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying.
Yeah, no, I bought a brand new desk. I bought a gaming desk.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, computer update. So there's telling me that this thing is going to take like
It's like,
I think they said anywhere between 5 and 6 weeks.
right.
But I ordered it maybe 2 weeks ago, and yesterday. So iBuyPower.com, which is where I bought mine, updates you every step of the way. And this may just be BS. They may not have done anything. They just might be clicking buttons.
Yeah, that's right. It's actually going out of business as we speak. Yeah.
Yes. Order received, parts gathered, parts assembled, sent to quality control complete, sent for burn-in complete, sent to packaging. Sent to packaging, and then shipped and tracked are the last two, and it's stuck at sent for packaging. So it may sit there for another 4 weeks. We don't know, but apparently it's ready to come home to me. If I felt like driving to the city of Industry, California to get it, I guess I could.
Beat on the door.
I'm not going to do that though.
I need my shit. It's cool that they do provide those kind of updates, and it wouldn't surprise me because wasn't there an option for expedited like building or whatever?
There was, there was the option to delay the building, and you save like 5% off the build, and I elected to do that.
See, that's what I worry about. So FedEx down here in Orlando, I hate FedEx. I hate all shipping, but I really hate FedEx. These assholes will sit on something in their warehouse until the promised ship date. So if something's coming 3 days early, it'll arrive in Orlando and it will sit in their warehouse for 3 days until they're ready to ship it, because they don't want to be known for sending stuff early. Because then people wouldn't pay for expedited shipping. They would just pay for standard, So I hope in your case, I really hope in your case, these guys, if they get done early, that's awesome. But I wonder if because you got a little bit of a discount, they're going to be like, well, here it is.
What I paid for was I gave them an extra 2 weeks to ship it out. So once it's shipped, I have ground shipping.
Oh, okay. So gotcha.
4 or 5 business days.
I understand.
So,
okay, so maybe.
I gave them an extra 2 weeks to build it and ship it.
Well, I mean, I commended you when we first started talking about all this. I commended you because I know you, and I was convinced after I put the thought in your head to buy one, you would tell me the next day that you had it. That's what I thought was going to... I was waiting to wake up with a text from you saying, yo, dog, I'm online. Like, teach me how to, whatever. And then it went... Then you were, like, waffling for a while. You were getting it. You weren't getting it. And I'm like, maybe he's going to, So you did take your time. You built a really nice rig. So I guess now you just got to sit back and wait. That's the only unfortunate thing.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Maybe we'll do a reveal on the channel.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Unboxing.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'd love to see how they package it, because when my wife got hers, this was 10 years ago, longer, 15 years ago. Jesus Christ, this is my fucking wife. Jesus.
No, you said package, not your wife. I would never do that. Shut up, Jim. Oh. You should be way more mad than that if I was talking about
I'm not
her.
mad. I can't get mad. This beautiful face with this wonderful beard, it just repels all evil. When she got her computer, they didn't do any fancy packaging. They just sent it. So you had the motherboard bolted on the side. You had all the cards just sticking out of it. They're probably wobbling up and down in the delivery truck. It didn't come in a fancy crate. Didn't come in a fancy box. I think the box was like damaged, but everything was fine, thankfully. I mean, these things are pretty resistant, but I'm sure they're going to take a good care of you, especially if you paid extra for all the wiring and packaging and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't cheap, so they're not going to want to have to deal with somebody who spent a ton of dough on something that's like snapped in half,
I did pay a bunch of extra money for professional wiring, and I paid extra for them to pack it safely because My case has a special feature built into it that I've told you about that I'm not telling anyone here about because it's going to be like part of the reveal. But my case is very expensive and it has a very special feature on it, and I don't want that feature fucking broken.
I understand. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. I hope you get it soon. I know when I got my computer, it was parts. When I built my last computer, and I was waiting on the graphics card. I knew the graphics card was coming. It was like a month out, and I started buying stuff from Amazon, which of course, you get like the next day. And I'm getting all these I'm getting all these parts coming in, no graphics card. And I'm just waiting and waiting, patiently waiting. And then finally, I called my friends and I'm like, could you come put this computer together, except for the graphics card? And they did. And then I at least had that up and running. And then I think I got the graphics card like a month later. And then I swapped it out on my own. But it's the excitement of knowing it's here. And now you're hearing us talk about Valheim. You're hearing us talk about all these cool games. You're like, I want to play this. And soon you will be in the promised land.
Nice. Nice, man. I'm excited. I'm really excited. And
Yeah,
hopefully I don't hate playing with keyboard and mouse.
you're going to have some major growing pains with a keyboard and a mouse. It's going to feel very twitchy to you, and your instinct is going to be to stick to a controller, where's my prop? Oh, it's in the other room. I usually have my prop. I hold up my Elite controller. I was doing a beta test today, so my Elite controller is in the living room. But typically, I do have my Elite controller on standby, and I do like to switch between games. But I think your tendency is going to want to be to use that, and you're going to have to really force yourself to at least get the muscle memory down. And I think once you kind of get familiar with the controls, you're going to like it a lot more. You're going to have a way more interaction with. You're going to have buttons designed just for certain things. So unlike Call of Duty, you have to open a menu and navigate. Like you're going to have it's just going to be a lot easier to manipulate for sure.
Yeah, well, I spent $370 on a keyboard and mouse, so I better fucking
You
use
better.
it.
You will use it, I'm sure. Moving off of your computer, but on to something equally as exciting. And this was finally some news that we had. I was really excited yesterday. Nintendo Switch, first of all, had its little birthday. Yay, it turned 4 years old. Can you believe Nintendo Switch is 4 years old? You know how long ago that was? Like, I looked normal 4 years ago.
Yeah, and we got Breath of the Wild.
Yes, which was, I saw a question pop up. This is kind of how this whole Switch discussion started, at least in my head. I was on NeoGAF and somebody was talking about, is Breath of the Wild the best game of this generation? Which you have to use the word generation loosely because you have PlayStation 4, 5, Series X, the S, whatever. But like in the last like 5-6 years, would you say Breath of the Wild is like the game to beat still? That was the debate, basically, this guy was asking.
You put me on the fucking spot here, dickhead.
I sent it in the show notes. Read the notes.
I did read the notes, but it was like 2 days ago.
I'll go first, Phil. It is not the game of the generation, and I'm going to tell you why. The performance on the game was garbage. The button mapping on the game was garbage. And as fun as it was really lacking any credible story. There you go. Come at me.
Wow.
Oh, and weapon durability was the Master Sword should not have to recharge. Sorry. It is the Master Sword. Period.
Yeah, that was stupid. And then, like, way after the fact, they're like, by the way, there's a motorcycle.
Buy the DLC and get more stuff after you've already done everything. We'll add more. Yeah.
Yeah.
To put it in perspective, Breath of the Wild sits at a 97 on Metacritic. That is pretty much the highest game that came out. The other two games that are loosely thrown into that, I disagree with both of them. One being Red Dead Redemption 2, also sits at a 97 in Metacritic. And the last one being The Last of Us 2, which sits at 93. Now, The Last of Us 2 has gone on to receive more awards than any other video game ever. I think a lot of that has to do with the culture of the world right now and how we like to elevate up characters, and we want to celebrate differences, and people just generally didn't like that game. A lot of people did not like the story. I hated the story. It sits at a 93 on Metacritic, so got knocked down a little bit by some of the more conservative reviewers, I guess. But I mean, Breath of the Wild was great. and it really did shape the industry, really, if you think about some of the stuff that it did. But, you know, if we ever get a sequel, they got to do better. They got to.
I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that it defines the generation or that it's the best game of the generation. I don't even know that I'd have it in my top three, to be totally honest with you, maybe top five. But what game would you say is the best of the generation? Let's disclude PS5 and
Oh, we got to
Xbox.
exclude PS5?
Yeah.
I mean, games that I have played in the last couple years that have really changed the way I think about games, even though I just said I wasn't a huge fan of the story in Breath of the Wild, not that there was a story, I think Sea of Thieves is incredibly underrated. I think that has to be considered. Despite the fact that there are some tales and stuff they included in there, the fact that this game had such a fun multiplayer sandbox, similar to, not as great as, Breath of the Wild, you made your own fun. And if you had the right group of friends, that game to me just really transcended a lot of other experiences I had. And I think back fondly, and that's the first one for me that comes to mind.
Okay. Okay. I don't have one, which is kind of sad. I don't have anything immediately popping into my mind. I want to just scream Skyrim at you, but that was last generation. No matter how many times they've tried to bring it into this generation, it's a previous generation game. I'm just trying to think of all the games I've played, what really made me like say,
I'm looking.
wow. The last game that made,
Oh, go ahead.
say the last game that kind of made me say wow, and this is not a suggestion that it is the best game of the generation. The last game I played that made me say wow is the story mode for Call of Duty Cold War.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was looking through my PC library while you were thinking about stuff, and I was gonna suggest Call of Duty, maybe not Cold War, maybe more Warzone, because that seems to have really taken you by. You just really seem to like Warzone a lot, but I would think that you've never experienced that kind of game before, as far as I'm aware, until Warzone came out.
Yeah, and a multiplayer game can't be it. Like a game, if we're gonna say that this is a generation-defining
Okay.
game, then it has to be able to stand on the laurels of its own story and the development of the main character and like the development of the primary characters. That's what, to me, that's what that means. That's which is why I didn't comment on Sea of Thieves. I didn't
Okay.
want to disagree with you because that's your personal choice, but
If we're
uh,
talking single player only, I would have to immediately gravitate to God of War, specifically when you said a character's journey, because they took a very one dimensional bald dude and they turned him into an incredibly compelling character and a very long emotional story about him and his son, I thought.
I would have to definitely agree with you. And shame on me for not thinking of that right away. Boy,
Boy, I mean, I would even say Ghost, which I know you haven't played yet. Although I think the ending was a little different than I had anticipated. Ghost was really pretty and fun, but not in the. It didn't grab me the way God of War grabbed me, and I think that was like our first big boy game, like, you know, in a sense that like, hey, it's an established character. We're gonna put him in a different world, but we're gonna pull it off. Not something like they did with Ascension, not something like they did with Halo ODST, where they're like, well, you're not going to be a Spartan, but you're going to be a Marine or an ODST. It's the same universe, but it's different. I think God of War really pulled off a compelling story that was like, wow, this was. I don't think a lot of people expected that. So to me, when I hear people, you know, ooh and ah over Breath of the Wild, I'm not hating on the game by any stretch. I loved it. I played it. I did all the shrines. I didn't buy the DLC, but I basically 100% of that game. All the memories, everything. But I think back on it, and would it hold up in today's ecosphere? Would you rather, you know, you don't know what you don't know, but like, would people invest as much time in Breath of the Wild if it came out today as it did a couple of years ago when there wasn't all these really cool new games out? Probably not. I guess that's kind of the way I look at it.
yeah. Yeah, I would say for right now, War Never Changes. Game of the generation for PS4 and Xbox One is God of
I
War.
can't really think of
Like,
any Xbox exclusive game that came out that blew me
because
away.
it fucking Halo games, some pieces of shit.
I mean, yeah, I guess you would say Halo 5 Guardians, but admittedly that was not a great single player game. The Master Chief took a long time to
Oh,
get here. and to finally
Bro,
get.
how many portals do we have to hop through to get to the middle? How many licks of the to get to the Tootsie Pop? I can't portal. I can't portal
I
anymore,
know, yeah.
bro.
And how many times do you have to fight the that boss? Yeah, it was rough. So, yeah. So here's what I'm thinking though. So I was gonna talk about that, and I was gonna ask, we kind of just leave it at that. But then, as I was putting together my notes, I was writing down all these things that I'm not happy about with Nintendo. They're bad graphics, a lot of their games coming out, a lot of poor draw distance, performance, just a litany of technical problems. And then I was thinking all the cool games that came out for Nintendo. Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon, Fire Emblem, Mario Odyssey. And they were good, they were fun. But nothing got me as excited as yesterday at 11:47 p.m. at night when our boy tweeted Bloomberg has announced they have learned there is a Switch Pro, which is actually coming out this year, which instantly blew my mind. And I was like, a new Switch? So before I get into what it is, when I tell you Switch Pro, walk me through that feature set. Like, what do we need for you to be excited for Switch Pro? Your
I
dream,
don't
your
know.
dream console. What is a Nintendo Switch Pro dream console to you?
Decent hardware. Decent hardware. A remote control that isn't this big. I don't know, dude. When I think Switch Pro, I think like an actual console, but that kind of defeats the purpose of Switch's like little gimmick because then you can't carry it around with you and travel with you and like I honestly, and this is going to sound so bad, I as a self-proclaimed video game lover, um, I travel with my Switch in case I can't get internet somewhere. So I
Wow,
have
it is
something.
okay. I have a Switch also as a backup console, but I've never had it as a backup travel console. That is even lower on the peg.
Bro, there's no good games out for right now that I haven't played and beaten.
I
Like
agree.
they come out with one game every year and a half. Like that's not my fault.
Yeah. So when my mind immediately, which is my mind by the way, is telling me no. My mind's telling me no. No. What I was gonna say for me, when I think of what a dream feature set is, I'm thinking of a more traditional console. I'm thinking of I know the Switch is in the name. I don't care about that. I don't care about the portability. I want a Xbox or a PlayStation equivalent powered device, but with Nintendo games. Give me back an optical drive. Give me Dolby Sound. Give me, I don't care about 4K. Give me good 1080. Give me 60 frames a second. Give me a bigger controller, better feature set, more like party system online. Like that's where my mind immediately goes. What does Switch Pro end up doing? No, this is yeah. What does Switch Pro end up giving us? The actual announcement so far is that it's going to include a bigger OLED screen. So we're going to get a 7-inch screen instead of like the 6.2-inch screen we get now. And via DLSS, which is deep learning super sampling, which is an amazing technology, they are going to try to get up to 4K, but with not a lot more hardware, just general software changes via DLSS, which is very powerful, but I don't think it's that powerful. My point is this. They didn't do enough. And I have to say, if this is really what's coming, it's the same Switch, just a little bit longer. I am not excited for this at all.
But you're gonna buy it.
If there's no games to play for it, what are you going to do? This is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to basically show you their old games and say, look how much better it is now. Look, Breath of the Wild doesn't run. It doesn't look like it's a flipbook. It actually runs at a solid 30 frames a second. Look, Mario Odyssey has a better draw distance than we thought it did before. You know, Age of Calamity or Link's Awakening are going to not hitch every 2 or 3 seconds as we load a new assets. Like, but are you going to buy new hardware just to do all that again? Like, do you want to play Breath of the Wild again if it looks better? Like, I don't think you do.
No, I don't. It has no replayability. You know what's really sad, Jim? What's really sad? I was not aware of that happening. I've been working all day and I did not know that this was a thing. So this is the first
First
I'm
time
hearing.
ever.
This is the first I'm hearing of Switch Pro. You said Switch Pro, and I didn't get excited, and I'm not excited for it because I'm so accustomed to
Boo.
Nintendo phoning things in recently,
Yeah.
and just like I don't know. I just they're not putting any effort into anything. They've completely rested on their laurels. They're getting they're fat, dumb, and happy, so to speak. And
Making a lot of money on the basic games,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're just going to keep shitting out Mario games and making a fortune, and it is what it is. They don't have to do anything special. So, like a bigger Switch screen, great. I don't fucking care about that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why. I mean, OLED is a really nice technology. It will look more vibrant, for sure. OLED's technology, when it turns off the pixel instead of just making it a true black, it will look prettier, for sure. But that's not going to make the games run better. That's not going to fix the problems that they already had. You're just kind of putting a fresh coat of paint on older games. And I mean, in theory, they would say, hey, we have this new hardware, but you can't alienate the 100 plus million people that already own a Nintendo Switch that are still buying a new Nintendo Switch. They just announced the Monster Hunter Rise. You can now pre order it. The Monster Hunter Rise branded basic bitch Switch. You're not going to turn around and say, hey, here's a new Switch, Switch 2.0, Switch Pro, that's going to run games better, but you can't of course, it's going to have to be backward compatible. We're not doing a generational leap here. So you can't expect anything revolutionary from this because they have to cater to the old guys. It's the same problem Microsoft has with the Series S. You have to have the lowest common denominator. So the lowest common denominator is what we have. It's not going to get any better.
Yeah, so don't come out with anything. But they just want to
Agreed.
they just want to get in on the sales craze right now. Like Nvidia came out with these graphics cards, and it's been months, and you still can't get one. PlayStation
Yeah.
5 still aren't in. Go to a store. Go to a store and ask for one, and see how hard they laugh at you. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
every
you're
time
right.
Xbox posts on Facebook, I go into the comments, and the very first thing I see is, "Why are you posting on Facebook? Go make me an Xbox." Like like the
Wow.
person running the social
I
media
said,
accounts filming them by
bitch.
hand. So I don't
Yeah, see, yeah, you're right. No, you're 100% right. Maybe that's just that they're missing out. Maybe they feel like, hey, we want to get in on this too. Like we want to be relevant again. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when that new Pokemon game was that trailer came out for Arceus. I think everyone was generally kind of excited for it, but the reality is when you think about how a open world game will be on a Pokemon game on a Switch, it's not going to run well. We know it's not going to run well. Breath of the Wild didn't run well. We have fond memories of it, but go back and play that game, and within 5 minutes, you'll be like, why is there so much screen tearing?
yeah.
And wait until you get your gaming computer, and then go back and play Breath of the Wild, like, whoa, this looks like shit.
Bro,
It's like it was.
I'm gonna get sick of playing PC games, and I'm gonna be like, fuck this, and go play Skyrim on the Switch.
Exactly. Yeah, wait till you play Skyrim on your computer, which I know you're going to buy, because you're going to want to see what that game was meant to look like.
You
You're going to
don't
play
know
it, and
me. You don't know that I'm gonna buy.
you don't know me, dude. I know you're gonna mod Skyrim like everybody else. You'd be the first person ever to mod your Skyrim game. I know it. Get out of here. Yeah, that's what I mean. As you get into nicer stuff, as we enter in a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox universe where they have these monster computers or the monster computer you're building, you're going to get accustomed to that. That is just expected. 60 frames a second should be the standard. It's not. I know I'm an elitist. I don't care. You can't you can't make a game that runs 24, 26 frames a second, no matter how fun it is, and people are not going to get immersed in it the way they're going to get immersed in a game that runs at 60 or 120 frames a second because it's just not as pretty. And your eye is going to be trained to these bad things. You're going to be like, ooh, that's rough. So
Dude, all I know is that I'm getting more and more excited because I didn't cut any corners and I built an absolute monster of a PC. And it like iBuyPower.com's like, this is what it'll run this game at max settings. Dude, at max settings, this computer will run Overwatch at 400 frames per second.
yeah, it's quick,
I don't
man.
even know if my brain can register 400 frames per second, but
Yeah, it'll just
it's going
throw.
to run Warzone on max settings at 220 frames per second.
Yeah, it'll just.
I don't know what that means, but I'm
It
excited.
means you're processing stuff that you'll never see because your monitor can't even keep up and it throws it away. But it just means it's the smoothest possible experience. It means you're getting the best refresh rate possible, and that's always where you want to be. You always want to be ahead of where your display is. So Nintendo Switch, yes, it can run 720p 60 frames a second in undocked mode. very infrequently does it actually get there and look decent without cutting a lot of corners. And you'll start to get a trained eye for this stuff. So when I see Switch 2 coming out and they're not willing to, or Pro, whatever the hell they're calling it, and they're not willing to just basically cut their losses and say the Switch was fun, but now it's time for something new, by them bringing everybody along, we are going to pay the price. I think everybody's going to pay the price, and we're going to be stuck with inferior hardware for a long time. And we're going to be stuck with Breath of the Wild 2 looking blurry and fuzzy and grainy, and I think the magic is going to be gone from that game because we've already seen it and so many other games have emulated it, and I just think that's where we're going to end up. I don't see it happening any other way.
Yeah, Ubisoft built an entire commercial flop for that game.
That's right. Which I own and I still have yet to open out of the wrapping. Yes. Icarus Rising? Phoenix Rising.
Icarus.
Something Rising. So yeah, you're right. And I guess that's where I leave that. And I just think to myself, man, you know, we can do better. We should ask for better. Doesn't mean everything has to be $1,000 because I get it. The price point is something to be said. Hey, you can get a brand new console and play all these games. And you could really, like I just mentioned, you know, half a dozen of them off the top of my head. There are some good games for the Switch. So if you tell somebody, hey, look, for $400, you can get this console and like 10 games or 5 games, whatever they are, that's a good price point. But you know, there has to be a point when they're dreaming bigger and bigger. These big, giant open worlds, these sprawling universes, Pokemon running around in the wild, giant battles happening in real time in the field. Their hardware can't support those visions, so they have to make a hard choice. Do they gimp their vision, or do they increase their hardware? And it seems like they're going to gimp their vision, which sucks.
I don't know. You know what? I feel like we should have a new tagline here. War never changes. Demand more.
Demand more. Ooh, I like it. Is it demand more?
Yes. I think at the end of each show, what I'm going to say when I sign out is demand more from now on.
You will forget that by next week, but I dare you to remember.
But you're right, though, and that's like a common theme from both of us throughout the entirety of this odyssey that we're going
on. The odyssey. I love the odyssey.
Is demand more. We should be asking for more. We accept too little, and we wait in line for hours for it and pay full price. It is. It sucks. We're pathetic. We're simps.
Regarding the Nintendo Switch Pro, there's always going to be that hype moment of it's going to go live. Yeah, at some point, Best Buy, Amazon, whoever, they're going to release, the link's going to come out. Click here to buy. And you're probably going to be like, I don't want FOMO. I have to do it. But I don't feel like I would be excited in the way that, like, I bought my PlayStation 5 and then I sat there every day and just looked and refreshed to make sure it was in the cart. And I was already getting games for it, and I was already doing headphone reviews, and we want to buy a new TV now, and we want, like, I'm ready, like, I'm building my life around this moment. And then it was such a moment, and you sent me your video when you finally got yours. I think you got yours like one day after me, you're doing travel or something. You get yours, and it's like, I got a PlayStation, and everyone's excited, you're going through the menus. Like, the Switch isn't going to be that. The Switch Pro isn't going to be that. It's going to be the exact same thing it was before. It's just going to be a little bit longer.
Yeah. No, man, I'm not excited about that at all. But
sucks.
You mentioned the new TV. Now that I'm getting a gaming PC and our PS5 usage is going to crash into the toilet, are you still going to get a new TV?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that is interesting that we're going to have to, you'll have to balance this. I mean, I've integrated you the best I can into my circle of PC friends. I have always been the outsider. Well, Brent, I guess, is the only one, but he's not really that close with the PC friends. I have always been the outsider in having a console and still enjoying console exclusive games and still preferring some games like Call of Duty on a console. I don't know if that will ever change for me. But you're going to make that choice that you might come to this crossroad and say, hey, you know what? I really like PlayStation, but it's not a computer. And you're going to just go off and goodbye PlayStation, and it will be months before you sign on and you won't care anymore. But you're going to go to the new thing for a while. But I think you'll come back.
No, dude, I was totally kidding. I'm a console gamer. I always will be.
You'll
I'm a console gamer, and that's the way it's gonna stay.
You wait. So I already told you my present to you is I'm gonna buy you Rainbow Six Siege when it comes out. We're gonna play Rainbow Six Siege together. I'm gonna buy it for you on the Ubisoft store, and we're gonna play it together.
I remember the list being a little longer than one game, but okay,
How
Jim.
many games do you want me to buy you? What do you want?
I didn't ask you for any, but you keep being like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this for you when you get your computer. I think it was Valheim, Among
I'm
Us.
buying
It
you.
was,
I'll buy you Among Us. It's like $3.
and then something like the Dick Butt game or the penis
Oh, Shower
noodles.
with Your Dad simulator
I don't know.
or
I don't
genital
know.
jousting.
Yes, I don't want
I'm
those,
buying you
please.
genital jousting. Good, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yes, we're gonna raid the dollar store bin. Genital jousting's like 69 cents. You're gonna have it. You will love it. Shower with Your Dad simulator, probably the game of the century. Yeah. So the deal is though, like you're gonna play these games. You're gonna fire up Rainbow Six Siege. You're gonna fire up Call of Duty Black Ops, which you bought, and you're gonna look at it and you're gonna be like, whoa. The clarity on the ground, the level of detail, the shadows, the lighting, the smoothness of the world around me. You're not going to, and I know you say like, oh, I can play Skyrim on Switch and it doesn't bother me. This is going to be light years ahead of the difference between the Switch version and the PlayStation version. You're going to be talking like double, triple the resolution, draw distance, all that stuff. You might just say, screw it, I can't play this anymore. It's too blurry, it's too slow. I don't care. I want to be in, PC land. And that's where you might end up. You just might become a PC gamer, and that might be it.
Probably not. We'll see.
We will see. Well, more importantly, I think than anything, really, with PC gaming, is it's with anything. If you have a good community of people around you, you'll go with the community. Like, I used to have a lot of friends who played on console who abandoned me. So I don't have really that network of friends. I can go on TeamSpeak any night of the week, and there's usually one or two people ready to go to play something, and they're all diverse tastes. Some people who really like shooters, some people like strategy, some people like action, some people like puzzles, whatever mood you're in. But you kind of get in that collective and that clique, and everybody talks about the new game, and we all gravitate to it and play it and love it. And now you getting into that fold more. You might have that FOMO of like, man, like, hey, that PlayStation 5 looks good, but my phone's buzzing. They're all jumping on Valheim. I got to go play Valheim. You might get to that. I mean, I think you're going to go through that. I think everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, if the boys want to play, then sure. Why not?
I used to be that way long ago, and I used to tell Rachel all the time, I'd say, Rachel, if my friends text me 100% of the time, I will stop what I am doing, if I'm free, to play with them, because I know they're going to get older, they're going to have kids, they're going to have families. I want to cherish this time I have to play with my friends while I can. Because the single player games in 10 years will still be here, but these experiences with my friends that I'm missing out on, I will miss out on, and I don't want to do that to myself. And I was religious to that for about 3 years. And then one day everybody wanted to go play a game, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just having fun tonight doing my own thing, playing. I think it was Dark Souls 3 at the time on PlayStation, all by myself. And that like broke the mold. And ever since then, it's like someone's getting on. I'm like, stick it out your ass. I'm playing my thing. So you may go through these spells. I don't know. I suspect you're going to be wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. There's going to be so many things that you are just going to just get to see. And I think you're just going to get lost in it, and I think that's the right thing to do. I think you're going to have fun with it, and I think your PlayStation is going to get very dusty here very soon.
It's already kind of dusty. I need to dust that bitch.
You need to do your cable. You need to hire iBuyPower to fix that rat's nest behind your TV. Did they come out and fix that?
I already fixed that. It's beautiful back there.
Dude, no, it's not. Send me a picture after this. I don't think so.
I will.
I will when I want. And not a blurry ass picture. I want a nice, clean iPhone 12 4K.
That's just gonna be in the background.
Yeah, just like a blur like this.
Just snap.
Man, oh man. So the only other thing I had for news, and then anything else you got, we don't have to go a whole hour today. We go as long as we want. But I wanted to wish a happy 21st birthday to one of my favorite consoles of all time, the Sony PlayStation 2. 21 years ago today, your boy Jim E. in college, Lake Holland was my high school. Florida Institute of Technology. I was on the third floor over the cafeteria. I don't remember the dorm room, but I remember getting a PlayStation 2 right before the summer let out. It was like the school, I think school, because it came out in May or March or whatever. Like we were getting ready to go on break, and I got it then, and we all huddled around and played Grand Theft Auto, I think. And it was so much fun. And I miss PlayStation 2 more than so much nostalgia with that console. I listed a bunch of games. Do you have any nostalgia with PlayStation 2? I think when it came out, you were like...
I do.
It came out, you were like, what, 4?
I first became a really hardcore gamer with PlayStation 2. So we
Oh,
had
okay.
a PlayStation 1. We had Nintendos and
Yeah.
PlayStations, but I really truly became like an obsessed gamer, and I realized how much I loved video games with the PS2 with Grand Theft Auto Vice City. We were
Oh,
hanging
yes.
out, and my older brother Ryan brought it over, and my parents left to do something. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna show you this game, and you can't tattle on us."
Blow your mind. Yeah, because that...
And dude, they let us play, and it blew my fucking mind. And dude, there was no looking back. And I still, to this day, love
That's your game,
Grand
huh?
Theft Auto Vice City.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, and really, I mean, I think that was the golden years of Grand Theft Auto too, because Grand Theft Auto, not two, Grand Theft Auto, those were definitely the golden years because, we had you had Vice City come out, you had San Andreas come out, you had just OG Grand Theft Auto 3 come out. Really nothing like these open world, you could walk around, steal cars, throw bricks through windows, steal a car, drive through the window. All these things that hey, wouldn't it be cool if they made it? Which was awesome. I played a lot of really crappy, cheap games because I was a poor college kid. But I was happy to at least just be blown away by some of those graphics. And then we had games like God of War 2 come out. Final Fantasy X came out, which was insane. Metal Gear Solid 2. What a... I still think... I think PlayStation 2 is still the best-selling console of all time. I think it is.
Is PlayStation 2 where vypermajik came to be?
No, it was PC game. It was during a PlayStation 2, but it was a PC game. It was called Viper Racing. It was a Dodge Viper racing game, and that's how vypermajik was born.
What kind of cars can you race? It's just Dodge Vipers.
I think it was only. Let's see if I can look it up real quick. Dodge Viper racing game. It was bad. It was really, really bad. It was actually called Viper Racing. I'm actually looking at it right now. 1998. It was a Dodge licensed 3D car racing game released in 1998 on Windows platform, and it was only Dodge cars. It was Dodge, yeah, just. And I was racing. I was really good at it because I was one of the few people that had a controller because of my PlayStation. I had a really shitty USB. There used to be a company called Maxim. Garvis.
I thought you were going to say Mad Cats for sure.
No, it was called Garvis Maxim was the name, and it had a D-pad, and it had a little plastic thread that you screwed into the D-pad, so it stuck out like an inch, and that was your D-pad, and it had I think 3 buttons on it. It was the shittiest, but it was USB, so I could play first-person shooters with this shitty-ass controller. But it was really good at racing games. I mean, racing is like fine-tuning. You want to just bump the analog stick a little left or right. My friends on the keyboard, you're tapping, D and S, and the whole car is jerking really hard. And I'm just blowing around. I'm smoking them. And they said, well, why are you so good? And I said, I don't know. It's magic. And then the one guy goes, is it Viper magic? And I was like, I ended up spelling it stupid on my own years later, but that is how Viper Magic came to be. But I did have a PlayStation 2 in the room. Most likely Final Fantasy was in the CD drive, and I played a lot of that in college.
That's awesome, man. I love the origin story. Now everyone knows the vypermajik story.
The true untold story of Viper Magic. That's right. So That's all I had for this week. I mean, I was just really curious about the Switch. I'm glad we talked about that. It's that time of the year where not a lot of news is coming out. So we try to limp our way along the best we can, at least get a 30-minute show out of the deal. But, Mr. Phil, is there anything else you wanted to bring up, or are you ready to venture off and finish that wonderful desk of yours?
I'm ready to finish this wonderful desk. Oh, well, is that a Quake hat? Oh, that's nice. Well, most of them, looks like Jim won't fucking take care of the way he looks. He won't cut his hair. War also never changes. And remember, demand more.